Welcome back. An extreme makeover's coming for the federal government's financial management. The director of the Office of Management and Budget, Russ Vought, calls federal audits, quote, rote exercises that do not ensure sound financial management. Loren DeJonge Schulman is founder and principal at Telos Lab. Robert Shea is chief executive officer of Gov Navigators. They're both former associate directors for performance and personnel management at the Office of Management and Budget. Welcome, friends, to the, I didn't get the mint green email, unfortunately, to be able to match with you guys, so I apologize for that in advance. But the audit issue that Russ Vought brings up at the Office of Management and Budget, Robert, what is he speaking to about what he sees at the agencies across government and not just what he sees at OMB?
So, yeah, you didn't use the title of the memo, which was, I think, Federal Audits Don't Work. Agencies have been undergoing financial statement audits since the 1990 Chief Financial Officers Act. We still don't have all of them getting clean audit opinions. Those that do, I'm not sure see pure value in the exercise. And the amount we're investing at DoD, I'm not sure people think is focused on the right things. So all of that, plus the fact that CFO shops across government have increasingly fewer resources than they have in the past, mean it might be the right time to take a fresh look at what we're auditing, how we're auditing, what value we're getting from auditing.
Loren, Robert, and you and I and others have spoken on a number of occasions about the importance of financial management data to making decisions at the OMB level and at the agency level. What information would somebody like Russ Vought or others at OMB need that they're not getting now from the audit community to help in that process?
That's a great question. I think it's as much about the information that he wants to get and also about our agencies and OMB able to take that and take action based on what they're hearing from agencies. Are they able to use that information and use it to address key risks, key examples of waste and fraud? Are they able to find some of the root causes behind some of the issues behind all of this? The information may be there buried within the mountains it is provided, but it's much more about how is it integrated? Is it actionable? Are people paying attention to this? Or is it just a box that folks can check? So I think the impetus that he's saying here makes a lot of sense. Let's make these valuable. It's more, does he have a change management strategy so it's actually going to be followed?
What's the change management strategy that works both from an FM perspective and from a management perspective, like the seat that you sat in?
Well, for one, I think that what it is not is what ostensibly happened, which is just sending out the memo and saying, hey guys, we're going to change this and we're going to update the circular. Part of it's going to have to involve listening to the community that both implements the audits but also is the customers of it to understand how can we do this in a way that lives up to these standards, but then also how do we bring this into training and practice so it's both intelligible and integrated into other processes, which is another element they mentioned around having audits be in part of performance management, better around strategy decisions, budgeting decisions, so people are using this information in an actionable way.
Robert, who should all the stakeholders be that should be involved in those discussions that Loren just talked about?
Well, we don't have time. But Loren's point about needing a change management strategy to make sure that where we land is the most useful place. The real risk is that not having collaborated with GAO or the Federal Accounting Standards Advisory Board in this new approach means that current audits aren't going to be in compliance with the rules as they stand today, which will lead to enormous confusion. But if we do get together, GAO, OMB, Treasury, OPM, they make up the Joint Financial Management Improvement Program, Congress, the agencies, CFOs, the CFO Council, the Inspectors General, you see why this is an enormous ecosystem. We've made a lot of investment. Getting that community together to figure out what processes can we put in place to make sure audits produce actionable information in a way that can be integrated, as Loren said, into the way we're making decisions. Because you've got GAO saying we've got upwards of $500 billion annually in fraud. Though that's not adequately reflected in the financial statements, even though in a standalone way, they are an incredibly rich source of information. Getting that really integrated into a decision-making process is sort of the holy grail.
So to Russ Vaught's point that he wrote in the memo that you alluded to, federal audits don't work. What do they look like? How do they work in an environment 2 years from now or 5 years, some future date where someone can say they do work, they do what you both have described that they should do to enable people to use them effectively to make decisions, Robert?
I think the process of producing financial statements in a more regular way, in a more timely way, that can be used in the budget process, say, or to respond to emerging risks like fraud. I think it's a much more nimble, less cookie cutter approach.
Mm-hmm.
One last audience I'll mention here that we haven't talked about is the American people are interested in this information too. They have told us that they worry about waste and fraud being part of the federal budget process. I don't think a lot of that comes down to what is shared with them and is shared with them in an intelligible and understandable way. This may not be the priority goal that they have coming out of this, but one thing they could think about is how do you communicate this not only to the agency audiences and OMB and Congress, but to the American people who are the key consumers of the information.
Mm-hmm. And we're not starting out fresh. I mean, these are things that people have been thinking about for a long time. Mm-hmm. We do have a real opportunity with this sort of, broken glass to really rethink what we can do differently.
You both have tremendous experience formulating and connecting policy to and then executing, implementing president's management agendas. How would one go about taking that issue of the financial data, realigning it, reinvigorating it, and so on, as we've discussed, and connecting it to something in a PMA that we expect the administration to come out with, I would think, any day now?
I think there's a few strategies you could use. One is starting with thinking about your customers, going to them and say, well, out of the reams of information that are produced here, what's most useful to you? What would you do with this information? When is it most useful to you? And how do you start that process? Starting it from a customer lens is a great perspective. And then following up with other conversations about, well, how hard is it to actually generate that? And aligning the impact versus difficulty. See, how do we actually generate a strategy and approach that isn't going to become more expensive and time consuming while driving better value for Americans?
Robert?
I know this won't surprise you, but I think getting an enterprise view of what programs are most cost effective, because an economic development program at Commerce that seems to be producing good results, while nonetheless continuing to invest in HUD programs that may not work, doesn't make sense. Getting this enterprise view of what are the most cost effective ways to achieve mission, I think would be a great result.
All right, we just have a couple of minutes left. You mentioned HUD. HUD is moving, we learned recently.
To Alexandria.
To Alexandria, your hometown. What are the challenges and risks involved with an agency moving its physical location while it still has to deliver for the American people? Loren, you first.
Typically, these sorts of moves take a long time to plan, long time to execute, and happen over a period of months, if not longer. And the planning for it takes longer than that. This felt much more abrupt, and I think that we're going to see the results of that as people realize there's not physical space for people to be doing a job in the locations that they're meant to be at. Hopefully, they're able to reset and move the HUD employees to a place where they're able to execute on mission, and reassure the NSF employees about where it is they're going to go and that they are valuable to the work, and valuable not only in the work that they do, but on the place that they do it in.
Yeah, that was the thing that came out of this that struck me, is the mayor of Alexandria said, we love our NSF people and we want to make sure we try to keep them there, Robert.
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
In Alexandria. I should maybe second guess that answer because of the traffic.
Because we'll all come.
That's right. But I do think, federal agency moves are not new, but they've been done on a much smaller scale in the past. So much going on with the federal workforce, but you've also got technology. You've got people who've been going to the same office for many years having to disrupt their whole approach to getting to work. These are the kinds of things that are going to be very difficult to manage, especially on the scale that we're talking about in this administration.
Robert, Loren, it's great to have you back as always. Thanks for joining me today. You can read more about all the things we talked about on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. FedGov Today with Francis Rose. We'll be right back.